Hello, and welcome to this engaging discussion on leadership and operational effectiveness, imperatives for successful counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations. In today's world, where terrorism and insurgency continue to pose grave threats, the role of effective leadership cannot be overemphasized. We'll explore the key leadership principles, strategies, and operational best practices that are crucial for success in counterterrorism efforts. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button if you find value in this content. Don't forget to share it with your network, because these discussions are essential for broader understanding and change. Let's jump right in.
Okay, so we're diving into the world of counterterrorism and counterinsurgency.
CT Koi Ein, as it's often called.
Yeah, CT Koyan.
Right.
So we're looking at this document. It really digs into what it takes to lead and win in these really complex situations.
Yeah, incredibly complex.
It's definitely not your grandfather's battlefield.
Not at all, no.
So, to be clear up front, we're talking about the strategic thinking behind these kinds of operations here. We're not, endorsing any specific actions or political viewpoints or anything like that.
Yeah, just trying to understand the challenges and approaches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things that this document really drives home is that, traditional warfare,
It's out the window.
it's being flipped on its head.
Yeah, completely different ballgame.
We're talking about fighting groups who use guerrilla tactics, blend in with civilians.
Exploit local issues
It's exactly-
to gain support.
It's a whole different world.
Yeah, the battlefield isn't just a physical space anymore.
Right.
You've got to understand the psychology, the culture, the politics.
It's like, how do you even begin to win in that kind of situation?
Well, that's where this idea of winning hearts and minds comes in.
Right. That's the phrase that pops up a lot in this document.
It's all about winning over the local population, building trust, even when they might be wary of any outside force.
Because, force alone clearly isn't enough in these situations.
No, not at all.
You can't just, force your way to victory.
It's way more nuanced than that.
So the document argues that strong leadership is absolutely essential.
Absolutely.
But, and this is where it's really interesting to me,
Okay.
it's not the traditional view of leadership.
What do you mean?
It's not just about barking orders or, being the toughest guy in the room.
It's not your Tatton, World War II.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They actually highlight things like adaptability,
Crucial.
cultural sensitivity,
Huge.
and even emotional intelligence.
Now that one's interesting.
I know. When I first saw emotional intelligence on the list, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
What's the connection? Why is that so important in this kind of setting?
Well, think about it. These leaders are dealing with incredibly complex situations, often with very limited information.
Right.
And the pressure is immense.
Oh, yeah.
They have to make decisions, sometimes split-second decisions that could have huge consequences.
Good for death.
Exactly.
And they have to manage their own stress.
Right.
And the stress of their teams.
It takes a very particular kind of intelligence to handle all of that effectively.
That's a good point.
It's not just about making the tactically right call. It's also about understanding the human impact of those decisions.
Right. On your team, on the local population.
Exactly.
It's a lot to consider.
It is. And then you add in the fact that the situation is constantly changing.
Right.
You have to be able to adjust your approach on the fly.
Be adaptable. And speaking of adaptability, the document actually breaks down some of the specific skills needed to lead in this new world of warfare.
Okay, like what?
Well, adaptability is obviously a big one.
Right, because the enemy is constantly adapting, too.
That's what I was thinking.
They're agile, they know the local terrain, the customs.
They know how to use the situation to their advantage.
Exactly. So leaders need to be just as adaptable, if not more so.
So they can anticipate those moves, adjust their strategies.
And ultimately, stay one step ahead.
Outmaneuver them.
Precisely.
It almost sounds like you need to be able to think like the adversary.
It's a critical skill.
To really understand their motivations, their tactics.
And that's where cultural sensitivity comes into play.
Right, because we're not just talking about fighting on a map here.
No, this isn't some abstract military exercise.
We're talking about operating within different cultures, different societies.
Each with their own unique customs, beliefs, sensitivities.
Absolutely. And the document actually gives a few examples of how, misunderstandings or misinterpretations of cultural norms can completely derail an operation, even with the best intentions.
Good intentions only go so far.
So a leader in this environment,
Yeah.
they need to be like a cultural chameleon almost,
That's a good way to put it.
able to blend in, build relationships
Navigate those complexities.
effectively. Yeah.
It's a whole different way of thinking about military leadership.
It really is a significant shift in mindset from that traditional view of military leadership.
It really is. It is. It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about the why, this shift in warfare, and we've touched on the need for a different kind of leadership.
Right.
But let's get into the how. How do you actually put these ideas into action? What does that look like on the ground?
Well, the document emphasizes this idea of intelligence-driven operations.
Okay, so you got to know what you're doing, who you're dealing with.
Exactly.
That makes sense, but it seems like kind of a, I don't know.
A given.
Yeah. Like, isn't that always important in warfare?
It is, but in these environments, it's not just about gathering intel, it's about using it effectively.
Right, making it actionable.
Exactly, and that requires seamless coordination between the analysts who are gathering and analyzing the information and the teams on the ground who are actually acting on it.
So that whole intelligence cycle has to be working really smoothly.
Exactly, and it has to be adaptable, too.
Because the situation on the ground can change in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Okay, so intelligence is key. What else?
Precision and restraint.
Interesting. So using too much force can backfire.
Big time, especially in areas with a lot of civilians.
Right. You risk alienating the local population.
Creating more instability, even pushing people towards the very groups you're trying to counter.
So it's about minimizing collateral damage.
Yeah.
Using force strategically.
Only when absolutely necessary.
That's a tough line to walk, I imagine.
It is, and it highlights another important point from the document.
Okay, what's that?
The need for a whole-of-government approach.
Okay, break that down for me.
So it's recognizing that the military can't do this alone.
Right.
You need the military, intelligence agencies, law enforcement, diplomats, all working together.
Like a team sport.
Exactly. Each group bringing their own expertise, their own perspective.
Right, so it's about coordinating all those different elements.
Exactly.
And you can't forget about international collaboration, right?
Absolutely not.
Because these terrorist networks, they don't respect borders.
Nope, they're global.
So working with allies, with organizations like the UN, that's got to be critical.
Essential.
Man, this is complex.
It is.
It's not just about tactics and strategy anymore.
It's bigger than that.
It's about navigating all these interconnected challenges.
Domestically, internationally, on every level.
And that puts a lot of weight on the shoulders of leaders.
It does, which is why the document also talks about morale.
Oh, right, because these operations can really drag on.
They can be incredibly long, demanding, physically and emotionally draining.
So how do you keep people going under that kind of pressure?
That's where leadership comes in.
Okay.
Leaders need to be able to support their teams.
Make sure they're taking care of themselves.
Exactly. Acknowledge the sacrifices they're making.
And recognize the human toll this can take.
Create an environment where people feel supported, valued.
And that goes back to emotional intelligence.
It all comes full circle.
A leader who can understand and respond to the emotional needs of their team.
That's what makes a difference in these situations.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. Effective leadership in CT Quine, it's a tall order.
It really is.
We've covered so much ground here.
We have, from the changing face of warfare to the...
skills.
Yeah, the specific skills.
And approaches you need to navigate these crazy situations.
It's a whole new world.
Right. What I keep coming back to, though, and this is what I find really interesting, is that so many of these leadership qualities...
Like what?
Like adaptability, cultural sensitivity, emotional intelligence, those are valuable everywhere, right?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about... combat zones or whatever.
Right. It's like these are skills that apply to any leadership role in any field.
Exactly. Think about it. The world is changing so fast. The challenges we face, whether it's in business, in politics, even in our personal lives,
Right.
they require that same kind of nuanced thinking, adaptability, emotional intelligence.
Being able to connect with people from different backgrounds.
Huge. That's huge.
Making tough decisions under pressure.
All while managing your own emotions. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's like the old command and control style of leadership.
It's just not enough anymore.
It's obsolete.
We need leaders who can adapt, empathize, leaders who can build trust, navigate complexity, make good judgments under pressure.
Yeah, and the good news is those are skills anyone can develop.
Absolutely, with practice, with intention.
It's not easy, but it's possible.
Definitely possible, and I think that's something for our listeners to really think about.
What can they take away from all this?
Take a hard look in the mirror, reflect on your own leadership style, figure out where your strengths are and where you need to grow.
Identify those areas where you can develop these essential qualities.
Exactly.
Well, this has been I don't know about you, but I've found this deep dive to be really eye-opening.
Totally agree. A lot to think about.
It's amazing how much we can learn from this world, from CT Koyon, about leadership in all its forms.
Absolutely. It's a constantly evolving field, always something new to learn.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you for staying with us through this crucial discussion on leadership and operational effectiveness in counterterrorism and counterinsurgency. If you found this content insightful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and share it widely to keep the conversation going. We'd also love to hear from you. Use the comments section to suggest the next topic or book you'd like us to explore in our upcoming episodes. Let's grow this platform together by spreading knowledge and fostering impactful dialogue. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.